Ayuso pachayam janto Tatevo pachayam vibhu Bhatyam rahita swasto Dustasya vidadhati so Ayusaha of duration of life Apachayam diminution Jantoho of the living entities Tatha similarly Eva also Upachayam increase Vibhuhu the Supreme Personality of Godhead Ubhabhyam from both of them Rahitaha free Swastaha always situated in his tranquil position Tuhustasya of the living entities under the laws of karma Vidadhati award ourselves he. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-powerful. He can award the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, he is always transcendental position. He is always in his transcendental position, and there is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life. Gopal, please respond. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-powerful and awards the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, he is always in transcendental position, and there is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life. Purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Both the mosquito and Lord Brahma are living entities in the material world. Both are minute sparks and are part of the Supreme Lord. The very short duration of the life of the mosquito and the very long lifetime of Lord Brahma are both awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead regarding the result of their karma. But in the Brahma Samhita we find it is said, Karmani nirdahati. The Lord diminishes or vanquishes the reaction of body. The same fact is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Yajnanartha karmo nayatra. One should perform karma only for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Otherwise one is bound by the actions and reactions of karma. Under the laws of karma, a living entity wanders within the universe under the rule of eternal time, and sometimes it becomes a mosquito and sometimes Lord Brahma. To a sane man, this business is not very fruitful. Bhagavad Gita 9.25 gives warning to the living entities. Yanti dreva vritan devan. Those who are addicted to the worship of the demigod go to the planet of the demigod. And those who are addicted to the worship of the Pita, forefathers, go to the Pita. And those who incline to the material activities remain in the material sphere. But persons who are engaged in devotional service reach the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where there is neither birth nor death nor different varieties of life under the influence of the law of karma. That's interest of the living entity is to engage himself in devotional service and go back to Godhead. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur advised, my friend, you have been washed away in material nature's waves of time. Please try to understand that you are the eternal servant of the Lord. Then everything will stop and you will be eternally happy. Omagyanatimirandasya ginanam yana shalaka chikshodan militam yana tasmai Shri Guruve namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sahitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamam Dadati Swaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sakajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Shadvitam Shavadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitam Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitam Shyam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sita Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaram Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all powerful and what the result of one fruitive activity. Now this is, as explained, and yesterday we also highlighted the same point. In this verse, Nadate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukritam vibhu Ajnanena vratam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. You cannot see the verse, is it? Then okay? Can you see now? So the translation of this, I got to check those who got the old Bhagavad Gita, because I find that sometimes this is totally off. You got the old Bhagavad Gita? You have it? What is that? Is it the same? What is it say?
Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
The same.
The nature of the Lord's Spirit.
Nor does the Supreme Lord.
The Supreme Spirit.
Supreme Spirit. Oh, he changed it. Not so much. So, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So this is a very important point, that as I've explained, the Lord does not assume your pious or impious activities. He has nothing to do with that. So, you follow the point. Like sometimes they blame the Lord, some plane crash or some tidal wave or something. They are very quick to point it out onto the Lord. You follow? They curse the Lord. Why he gave this thing, innocent babies all died. You follow? There's no such thing as innocent. If you have gone through this, maybe because of your karma. And the Lord is neutral. You see, does not assume anyone's sinful or pious activity. He's not what? Implicated. You follow? The one who does the action, he gets into the reaction. You follow? once you do an activity, then you are implicated. You understand? Yeah? This is explained here in this verse. In this verse, Karmani arhate yena pumanyeha hi vihayatam amutran yena dehena justani sayat asmute. The result of whatever living entity does in this life are enjoyed in the next life. And whatever result he performs, he suffers in this life, he also has to be paid back in next life. I mean, whatever bad or good he does, he has to pay back in his next life. You follow? You understand this point? So this is how it works. It is not like, once you die, everything is over. There is no such thing. But this, I think to understand this better, we will go to this chapter 29. It's very nicely explained. We can read, we can understand. This is how everything works. The living entity by nature has minute independence to choose his own good or bad fortune. You understand this point? And when he forgets the Supreme Master, the personality of Godhead, he gives himself up onto the modes of material nature. Being influenced by the modes of material nature, he identifies himself with the body, and for the interest of the body becomes attached to various activities. Sometimes he is under the influence of mode of ignorance, sometimes in the mode of passion, and sometimes the mode of goodness. The living entity thus gets different types of body under the modes of material nature. Sometimes he is ignorant, he gets the body of a mosquito. Each mode of goodness, he gets the body of Lord Brahma. You understand? How this works is further explained by Narada Muni. Those who are situated in the mode of goodness act piously according to Vedic injunctions, and thus they are elevated to the higher planetary system where the demigods live. You understand? And those who are influenced by the mode of passion engage in various types of productive activities in the planetary system where the human beings live. Similarly, those influenced by the mode of darkness are subject to various types of misery and live in the animal kingdom. Are you understanding? If you goodness, you go to heavenly planets. If you are passionate, you stay here. Sometimes human body, sometimes demon body also. And those who are ignorant, they become animal or even ghosts. You follow? So it is explained here, this verse that we always quote very often. Covered by the mode of ignorance in material nature, the living entity is sometime a male, sometime a female, sometime a eunuch. What is a eunuch? Very popular now. The gay movement is very popular. Not only gay, the lesbian and the gay, very popular. Right? You see? Sometimes this, sometimes that. Sometimes human being, sometimes a demigod. Sometimes bird, sometimes animal, and so on. And that's where he is wandering within the material world. His acceptance of different types of body is brought about by his activities under the influence of the modes of real nature. See? So according to the modes he is trying to enjoy. you get the resultant reaction. You follow? You cannot say, I do what I like and I get what? Whatever. No. You understand? It's helplessly he's stuck. That is, you just go and come back here. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities as acquired from the mode from nature. Helplessly. You understand? He is not, he is what? Independent to do whatever he... No. Totally under control of mind. Understand this point? Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Stuck. This is how we have to understand. We are actually bonded. Tesi tepi tantra urudhami pada. We are tied by the rope of the three modes. We are not free to do what we like. This is an illusion because the Maya is so powerful that although we are stuck, we are thinking we are very independent. See how the baffling of Maya is. Pakirti kiryamanani gunair karmani samsa ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti man. I am the doer. So how the Maya works? Maya is pushing him when he thinks he is the doer. You follow this point? This is how the Maya is illusion. See? What happens after this? The living entity is exactly like a dog who overcome with hunger goes from door to door for some food. According to his destiny, he sometimes receives punishment and is driven out, and other times a little food to eat. Similarly, the living entity, being influenced by so many desires, wanders in different species of life according to destiny. Sometimes he is high, sometimes he is low, sometimes he goes to heavenly planet, sometimes to hell, sometimes to the middle planets, and so on. This is how the transmigration is going on. Are you following? Huh? The living entities are trying to counteract different miserable conditions pertaining to providence. Other living entities or the body and mind. See, this is how it counteract the providence means what? Adi, David problem. And other living entities, Adi, bhautik problem. And body and mind is Adi, atmic problem. So these three problems are in the material world. Problem from the demigod, problem with other people, problem with your own mind. This is how, see, the living entities are trying to counteract different miserable conditions pertaining to providence, other living entities, or the body and mind. Still, they must remain conditioned by the law of nature, despite all attempts to counter these laws. You cannot escape. You understand? You cannot escape. That's why Krishna spoke to be what? Tolerant. Krishna spoke what? To be Matras pastisu kaunteya sitosna sugadukada gamapayeno nitya tam tatikshasva bharat. Tatikshasva. Tolerate. Understand? You cannot escape. Explain even further. Like a man may carry a burden on his head. When he feels it's too heavy, he sometimes gives relief to his head by putting the burden on his shoulder. He then tries to relieve himself of the burden. However, whatever process he devises to counteract the burden does nothing more than put the same burden from one place to another. That's all. Shifting from here to here. And here then to here. But the real thing is to throw the burden away. That's all. But no, attachment is attached to the burden. You understand? See how so perfectly explained. Your responsibility, then here, then here, then here, then here. Like this is going.
If you throw the seed, you are not responsible.
Yeah, you see now we'll see the next verse. It's very nicely explained here. Narada continued, "O you who are free from all sinful activity, no one can counteract the effects of fruitive activity simply by manufacturing a different activity devoid of Krishna consciousness. That's the solution. If you want to get rid of the burden, you must bring what? Krishna into your life. You cannot try to manufacture another activity. That's not going to work. Understand here? All such activity is due to our ignorance. Our ignorance. This is a very nice example. This one. This is a very important point. We were discussing that. When we have a troublesome dream, we cannot relieve it with a troublesome hallucination. See how it puts. One can counteract a bad dream by only waking up. By what? Only waking up. Similarly, our material existence is due to our ignorance and illusion. Unless we are awakened to Krishna consciousness, we cannot be relieved of such dreams. For the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness. Perfect. Is it? So all our burdens and problems, all it can be nullified. Simply we take up the process of Krishna consciousness. More so in Kali Yuga, so easily done by opening the big mouth of ours and chanting what? That's all. Yes? Next verse. Sometimes we suffer. Jai Sri Radha. Sometimes we suffer because we see a tiger in a dream or a snake in a vision. But actually there's neither a tiger nor a snake. Thus we create some situation in a subtle form and suffer the consequence. This suffering cannot be mitigated unless we are awakened from our dream. Same point. Same point is elaborated. The real interest of the living entity is to get out of the nescience that curse him to endure repeated birth and death. The only remedy is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative, the spiritual master. Unless one renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, one cannot possibly become completely detached from this material world, nor can he possibly manifest real knowledge. That's another very important point. We have to take the spiritual master. Without getting spiritual master, we cannot get the knowledge in which we can surrender ourselves to Vasudeva or Krishna. The spiritual master is very, very important. Follow this point. Now Narada is giving point by point by point. O best of kings, one who is faithful, who is always hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always engaged in the culture of Krishna consciousness and in hearing of the Lord's activity, very soon becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. So do not doubt this process. This process is not like, you think that seeing Krishna is some kind of a mystical thing. No, it is possible. It is possible. Now we are seeing him in this murti form. Yes? And by constantly meditating on him, you will be able to see him face to face. Prabhupada said. See that again it is confirmed here. It is not that we are speaking of some utopian science or something, maybe it could be, might be. No, it's a fact. This is also confirmed by Kapila Dev. Kapila Dev also said the same point. In 325 something there. That you, by practicing very soon you will be able to see the Lord. My dear king, in the place where pure devotees live following the rules and regulations and thus purely conscious and engaged with great eagerness in hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that place, if one gets a chance to hear the constant flow of nectar, which is exactly like the waves of a river, one will forget the necessity of life, namely hunger and thirst, and become immune to all kinds of fear, lamentation and illusion. Sadhu Sangha. That place, where is that place? Mustafa. Where? Your house. Where? My house also, Prabhu, I am really every day chanting. It says the place where the devotees gather, right? Where the place the devotees gather? Yes. Because the conditioned soul is always disturbed by the bodily necessities such as hunger and thirst, he has very little time to cultivate attachment to hearing the nectarian words of the Supreme Personality of God. This is exactly the point. This is another very important point. Why? Because the conditioned soul is always disturbed by the bodily necessities such as hunger and thirst. Very little time to cultivate attachment. Why? Every day I want to think of making money. From morning to night is running. Why? Attachment to make money. Yes. Hunger and thirst means what? Food. Ahara, nidra, bhayamaituna. This is the point. He is always interested in what? How to make his comfortable life, apartment, money, three children, wife, family, so many things. Very little time to cultivate attachment to hearing the nectarian words of the Supreme Person. Every time you ask them, no time. No time. They come to the no time. Sunday is my family day. Right? You see that point? It is also explained by Narada Muni. Narada is not talking out of his head, talking exactly here. See? Then what? The most powerful Lord Brahma, the father of all progenitors, Lord Shiva, Manu, Daksha, and all the other rulers of man, humankind, the four saintly first-class brahmacharis headed by Sanaka, Sanatan, the great sages Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kartu, Bhrigu, Vasistha, and my humble self, Narada, all stalwart brahmanas who can speak authoritatively on Vedic literature. We are very powerful because of austerity, meditation, and education. Nonetheless, even after inquiring about the Supreme Personality of God, whom we always see, we do not know perfectly about Him. Even whom we always see, is another thing. Still we say, we do not know Him. This is also confirmed by Lord Brahma. Others may say they know Him, but I, with my forehead, I declare, I don't know. I do not know Krishna at all. Huh? Lord Shiva also. So this is not some cheap thing that I know God. This I know. This is the myth. Even great personalities are declaring they cannot find out who Krishna is all about. It's inconceivable. So the only way is to surrender. Despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge which is unlimited and the worship of different demigods, but the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship, does not help one to understand the supreme powerful personality of Godhead. Understand this point. This is a very important verse actually, 9:25, 4:29, 40. and the worship of different demigods are the symptom of Vedic mantras. Demigod worship does not help one to understand the supremely powerful personality of Godhead. Huh? This is not for you mostly. Hindus, we always get this caught up. They think that you can go to God by any way. But here it clearly says, demigod worship does not help one. You follow? The only way you can get to the Lord, by whom? By the mercy of the pure devotees. You cannot go to Krishna by any other shortcut method. No. Even demigods who are very exalted, seeing the Lord, even they cannot help you. What to speak? Huh? When a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is favored by the Lord who bestows His cosmos mercy. At such a time, the awakened devotee gives up all material activities and ritualistic performance mentioned in the Vedas. So unless he takes up this devotional service and is favored, he cannot give up his fruitive activities. He cannot give up his karma. He cannot give up all his, rituals. My dear King Barishman, you should never out of ignorance take to the Vedic rituals or to the fruitive activity, which may be pleasing to hear about, which may appear to be the goal of self-interest. You should never take this to be the ultimate goal of life. In other words, he is telling the king to stop doing this karma yoga. This karma yoga is useless. Isn't the point here? Huh? Understand? But all we are thinking is, no, work. This is all. Everybody. Work is worship. Huh? If someone is not working, they think something wrong with him. Understand? Even Narada is saying, don't do this work. Surrender fully. Huh? The Supreme Personality of God. Trying to enjoy the senses is a no-go. Those who are less intelligent accept the Vedic ritualistic ceremony as all in all. They do not know the purpose of the Vedas is to understand one home where the Supreme Personality of God is lived. Not being interested in their real home. They are illusion and search after other home. This verse, I think I've quoted this before. Huh? Our real home, where is that? Prabhupada, right? Back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada put it there. This is the home, the real home. Where is our real home? Huh? The lotus feet of the Lord. That's the real home. Right? Instead of interesting in the real home, we are all attracted to the illusory home. Huh? Our illusory home. Where is that illusory? Today, tomorrow, gone. Huh? This is another important verse, 49. Everyone is into education. Education is another myth. This education thing is a myth. My dear king, the entire world is covered with sharp points of pusa grass on the strand of this. You have become proud because you have killed various types of animals in sacrifice. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of God. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activities should be those that can please the personality of God. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. To that point? Our education should be such that we can become elevated to not some crazy education for eating, sleeping. You see, this king, what he was doing by so-called, advice, he later on he will say, I am wrongly advised. He will say, the Brahmanas all gave me wrong advice. He will say, what is his advice? How to enjoy, how to, be a very big king, commit so much of violence to innocent animals? Huh? This is not education. Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the super soul and guide of all living entities who have accepted material bodies within this world. He is the supreme controller of all material activities and material nature. He is also our best friend, and everyone should take shelter at his lotus feet. In doing so, one's life will be auspicious. Again, he advised, take shelter of Krishna. One who is engaged in devotional service has not the least fear in material existence. This is because the Supreme Personality of God is the super soul and friend of everyone. One who knows this secret is actually educated. And one thus educated can become the spiritual master of the world. One who is actually a bona fide spiritual master, representative of Krishna, is not different from Krishna. This is actual education. What is that? What is the actual education? Is Narada is saying? Now one who knows this secret, that what? We are all servants of Krishna. Yes? Now he is actually educated. And thus educated can become the guru of the whole world. Huh? See how important. The great saint Narada continued, "O great personality, I have replied properly about all that you asked me. Now hear another narration that is accepted by saintly person and is very confidential. My dear king, please search out that deer who is engaged in eating grass in a very nice flower garden along with his wife. That deer is very much attached to his business and is enjoying the sweet singing of the bumblebees in his garden. Just try to understand his position. He is unaware that before him is a tiger which is accustomed to living at the cost of another's flesh, and behind the deer is a hunter who is threatening to pierce him with the sharp arrow. Thus the deer's death is imminent. This is our position. We are all in this position. Left or right, we are stuck. Either way we are going to die. Huh? My dear king, woman who is very attractive in the beginning but in the end very disturbing is exactly like the flower which is attractive in the beginning and detestable at the end. With woman, the living entity is entangled with lusty desires and enjoys sex, just as one enjoys the aroma of a flower. It thus enjoys the life of self-gratification from his tongue to his genitals, and in this way the living entity considers himself very happy in family life. United with his wife, he always remains absorbed in such thoughts. He feels great pleasure in hearing the talks of his wife and children, which are like sweet humming of bumblebees that collect honey from flower to flower. He forgets that before him is time which is taking away his lifespan with the passing of day and night. He does not see the gradual diminishing of his life, nor does he care about the superintendent of death who is trying to kill him from behind. Just try to understand this. You are in a precarious position and are threatened from all sides. How it is bewildered. I mean, this kind of verses is going to be frightening, but what to do? It's a fact. That, yes, you don't become popular actually. You know, this next word you see. My dear king, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruity bhakti. Give up household life which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things. Take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated soul. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. The only solution is association with liberated soul. You can only give this up with the association of liberated soul. See? The king replied, this is very important. The king replied, my dear Brahman, whatever you have said I have heard with great attention, and considering all of it, have come to the conclusion that the acharyas, teachers who have engaged me in fruitive activity did not know this confident knowledge. If they were ever aware of it, why did they not explain it to me? You understand this? That means his spiritual masters misled him. The king was misled to do all this, what, killing animals, this, that, everything. So why did they mislead him? He's asking this question, you see? And then you see what is again the next verse. My dear Brahmana, there are contradictions between your instruction and those of my spiritual teachers who engage me in fruitive activity. I now understand the distinction between devotional service, knowledge and renunciation. I had some doubts about them, but you have now very kindly dissipated all this doubt. I can now understand how even great sages are bewildered by the real purpose of life. Of course, there is no question of self-gratification. You see this point? In other words, you must go to a bona fide spiritual master. You know, not simply anybody is any and everybody can be helping. No. You see, Narada is an authorized Mahajan. Mahajano yena sagata panta. And he is explaining to the king. And his teachers, so-called Brahmanas, has misled him. The work is worship, doing all kind of rituals, trying to get promoted to heavenly planets, trying to enjoy the senses. See how we must, get the right association. Even in our so-called ISKM, you have to get some right association. You follow? Someone who can bring you straight to Prabhupada. Not someone who mislead you. Understand? Now you see, you are thinking that, how can some guru mislead you? See here, he is explaining here how he was misled. You have to check the authenticity, verify, not simply you follow blindly. This I just quoted. The results of whatever living entity does in this life is enjoyed in the next life. The experts, knowers of the Vedic conclusion say that one enjoys or suffers the result of past activity, but practically it is seen that the body that performed the work in the last birth is already lost. So how is it possible to enjoy and suffer the reaction of that work in a different body? And sometimes this question is asked, how is it possible? The body is already gone. How this karma is transferred here? How? Who is seeing? Who is checking? That is the question. So here he is explaining. Narada Vacha. The great sage Narada continues. The living entity acts in gross body in this life. This body is forced to act by the subtle body, composed of mind, intelligence, ego. After the gross body is lost, the subtle body is still there to enjoy or suffer. Thus there is no change. In other words, you give up your gross body, but you are carrying with you your subtle body. Your mind, intelligence is going. You follow? And according to that, you are again given another body. Again you are going to bring up your desires and go on and go on and go on like this. What is the time? Still got another 20 more verses. The living entity, while dreaming, gives up the actual living body. Through the activities of his mind and intelligence, he acts in another body, either as a god or a dog. After giving up the gross body, the living entity enters either an unknown body or demigod body on this planet or another planet. He thus enjoys the result of action of his past life. So according to his karma, he is going through his own doing, not that the Lord is doing, anybody is doing. Your own action. As you sow, you reap. The living entity labors under the bodily concept of I am this, I am that, my duty is this, and therefore I shall do it. These are all mental impressions. And all these activities are temporary. Nonetheless, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity gets a chance to execute all his mental concoctions. Thus he gets another body. So accordingly, the Lord is giving him his body. Because of his mental speculation. Understand? The Lord is actually what? Fulfilling the desires of the conditioned soul. Man proposed, God disposed. Really? One can understand the mental or conscious position of living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition of conscious of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. So by looking at a person's action, mental condition, we can understand what he was in his previous life. Understand? This is how you check. Here, we have it here. Written here. You want to know what? For example, it's explained why you got a body of a man or a woman. If you get a body of a woman, it's explained because you have been thinking of the body of a woman last life, so you got. And vice versa, if the woman had been thinking of the body of a man, she gets the body of a man. This is all going like this. Sometimes we suddenly experience something that was never experienced in the present body or sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams. Yes? We never experienced. Suddenly you are dreaming, you are flying. I never flew. How is it possible? Yeah, it's explained. How is it possible? They explain here. Therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. There is no possibility of concocting anything mentally without having persisted in the previous bodies. Then nothing can register if you have not gone through that. You understand this point? Whatever we are going through, perceiving, we must have done it in some lives. You might have been a bird, flying, correct? And then you are thinking, oh, I'm flying. You can see the wind is beating on my face, and so many things. Not just one dimensional. Fully. How did you get that feeling? How do you understand that? Unless you have gone through in a different body? Yes? O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with its association mental nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus the mind indicates the past and the future bodies. That's why we are saying, please engage your mind in thinking of Krishna. Why? Because the mind is not controlled, it will bring you to another body. Yes, it will keep taking you from body to body to body, which is done to us for millions of lives. We are now sitting here. Why? Because we listen to our mind. Yes. Sometime in a dream we see something never experienced or heard in this life. But all these incidents have been experienced at different times, in different places and in different conditions. The mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies, and according to one's desire for sense gratification, the mind records different thoughts, and the mind these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen or heard before. Sometimes we have seen gold, and sometimes we have seen mountain. Then mind mixes up and says golden mountain. Prabhupada gives the analogy. Krishna conscious means constantly associating the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. As long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligent mind, senses, sense object, and reaction of the material quality, the consciousness of false identification and relative objective, the gross body, exists as well. And the living entity is in deep sleep when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss. At the time of death, when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. So here, explain how you give up your attachment for the body. When there is a great shock, when deep sleep, when you are in deep sleep, you forget. Yes? Or when you faint, you forget. Or when there is some great shock on account of severe loss, you also forget. At the time of death, you also forget. See? So these are the various situations you become detached from the body. When one is in youth, all 10 senses, the mind completely visible. However, in the mother's womb and the boyhood stage, the sense organ and the mind remain covered. Just as the full moon is covered by the darkness of dark moon night. So only when you are, pretty developed, you can understand these things. And the living entity dreams the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one is associated with the sense object, they become manifest. Similarly, the living entity with undeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though he may not be exactly in contact with the sense objects. The 5 sense objects, the 5 sense organs, and the 5 knowledge acquiring senses in the mind of the 16 material expansion, combined with the living entity and are influenced by the modes of material nature, thus they exist in the conditioned soul is understood. By virtue of the process of subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross body. This is known as the migration of the soul. That the soul becomes subject to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness. The caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up one he has. This is because the mind is the reservoir of all kinds of desires. How does it work? Because the mind is already, suppose someone is going to become a pig. His features all will be developing like a pig. Have you seen? Some guy is going to be a dog. You can see his, consciousness. Have you seen it? Observe. That's how already the next body is getting ready. You follow? As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul. That's why we are promoting, do not engage in sense gratification. The solution is to engage the senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. Then the senses become purified. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in devotional service of the Lord. This is why when we engage in the serving of Krishna consciousness, by taking up the process, you will then get realizations. You understand? Without realization, you will not know. Everything becomes covered. The great sage continued, the supreme devotee, the great saint Narada thus explained to King Parachinabahi the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Narada, Muni left to return to Siddhaloka. So it says, I think there's 2 more verses, is it? After this, is it? Or 5 more. Because then it shows that the king, he become renounced, he left the kingdom, went to practice austerity and he went home back to Nara. So I think this subject is verse to today's verse about how the Lord is in control and how the living entity makes his own karma. This is what Swayambhuva Manu is trying to explain to Dhruva Maharaj. Because he's trying to kill all the yakshas. This is stop. Because whatever happened to his brother is karma. Are you following? This chapter is very important chapter, this 4:29. You can read it again, it will be very nice. So any questions or comments on this point? No questions, alright. Thank you very much. Stop here. Grantaraj